Welcome to the Unfiltered Path podcast, where we explore life's journeys without the constraints of filters. In a world saturated with highlight reels, we dive deep into the true essence of individual experiences, offering our listeners, you, an uncensored glimpse into the triumphs, the struggles, and the transformative moments that define every single one of us. Our mission is to provide hope, inspire resilience, and remind you that every path, no matter how winding or rocky, can lead to growth and enlightenment. Join us as we navigated the uncharted territories of truth, and to be moved and inspired and discover that you are not alone in this unfiltered journey of life. Hey everyone, I am Trinity Baker, one of your co-hosts here on the Unfiltered podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm a mindset coach. I love inspiring you listeners here with us today, and I'm joined here by one of our co-hosts.
Hi, my name's Danielle. I'm an aerialist. I'm the owner of Aerialist. Aerialist is a fancy term for performing suspended in the air. I'm also a proud teacher. The majority of my time is with my homeschooling students and adults. And I am joined here with my wonderful co-host, brushing his beard.
My name is Graham Duval, owner of Valüd Productions. We provide video marketing strategies proven to make you more successful in your business. And I am super excited to be joined by our wonderful guest here today,
Anthony McKeown. I'm the owner of Fight Coffee. We sell responsibly sourced coffee. We give 100% of the profit to fight human trafficking. And it's easy. I love that we make it easy for people to join the fight, and they just shop online. So that's what we're doing. That's our goal.
I love it. Listen, Anthony,
That makes my job so minimal.
I know, but you know what? I was thinking the other day, it's like it's all about the impact that we leave in this world, and every single one of us has like this impact, right? Every single one of us makes some sort of impact on this world every single day, every minute.
True.
And Anthony has found a way for us coffee drinkers who are going to drink coffee anyway to then make a bigger impact with something that we already enjoy.
most definitely.
It's just about enjoying.
Most
So I'm
definitely.
sipping my Fight coffee this morning.
I will say that we were talking before the meeting or before our podcast today, and I was very surprised at the statistic that you threw out, Anthony, that 60% of people drink coffee. I would have guessed it was more than that. I don't know about any of you guys listening, any of you here. I would have guessed it was more. If someone was like, hey, how many people drink coffee? I would have been like 85% probably.
You know what I think contributes to that is the fact that like when you go to a drive-through place where you get your quote coffee, it's like 99% sugar and cream, and you get like a splash of coffee in it. Like they're probably just counting those people who fake that they drink coffee when they really don't.
I think it's a culture thing. You know, in Europe, they're known to drink tea. It's like a tea time, you know? So I think that maybe we just assumed, but culturally speaking, it's probably mixed. We also live in Maine, and like a lot of comedians make jokes about them. You know, you're in on the East Coast once you see Dunkin' Donuts every 3 seconds. You know, like I've heard similar jokes about, New England and Dunkin' Donuts quite a bit. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so I happen to hear people do stand up and, no name people. I kind of research a little bit, and this is kind of like a thing.
And when I moved here, there was no Dunkin'. I think there was one. That's about 25 years ago I moved here. So there was hardly no Dunkin' Donuts.
I remember that.
And then it was like, and then all of a sudden it was like Dunkin' Donuts were popping up everywhere. Now,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm from New York originally, so we definitely had a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts there. But yeah, I'm not familiar with Dunkin' Donuts too much on the West Coast, or I lived in Phoenix, but I don't remember them too
I lived in
much.
Florida, and it was pretty normal, but Maine's a little over the top. But the beautiful thing is Dunkin' Donuts is individually owned, so there's fair amount of entrepreneurship happening.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
That
that's
is
cool.
That is true.
Yeah, that's part of our long-term goal is to be primarily owned and run by survivors.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's
beautiful
cool.
lawyer of my heart.
Oh,
That's so
okay.
cool.
So, Anthony, what is Fight Coffee and why do you do what you do and what does it support?
Well, why I do what I do, I mean, I'm not a survivor of trafficking, but I am a survivor of abandonment, abuse. I fought for my life in first grade. A kid tried to kill me with a hammer. I was homeless and drug addicted before graduating from high school. I had a lot of trauma. I have PTSD. So, when I heard about human trafficking the first time, I was at a Soul Fest, the Christian concert all day for days. Anyway, so some dude was there talking about you during an intermission about kids in Africa swimming down, diving down, little kids, 5 years old, 7 years old, diving down, unhooking nets, but they were drowning because they themselves would get caught in the nets. And I was like, yo, like, I got to go to this tent and talk to this guy. I'm like, what? And, so I went, but that was, I don't know, maybe close to 20 years ago. But, it was like they just they had a t-shirt. I bought the t-shirt, but I walked away. Like, I mean, what am I going to do? Like, they were talking about businesses that profit from exploitation. So then I tried to look that up, but then I couldn't really look. Well, I understand in general, but what specifically? And, and I just, after a while, I just got very frustrated because I wanted to do something and there was no clear path for me to see what I could do. And so I kind of quit, And then I thought it was only in Africa or, not in America. When I learned about it, then I started to support this organization. I gave $25 a month, and then they started sending me the mailers, the monthly mailer. And so that's when I started to see the extent of the amount of children. And so that, I say it kind of triggered me a little bit, and it got me, I was just like, okay, this isn't, should I do something? It's like, I have to do something. How can I not do something? So that's kind of how that's how I got into it.
That's
That.
amazing.
What I love is that when you buy Fight Coffee, you can choose what organization to support with the funds that Fight Coffee is receiving from the coffee, which is really cool because, Anthony, I was going to shout out. I will shout out to you for the rest of my life because you are what started the spiral of my motivational speaking. You provided me the opportunity to connect with one of these organizations that brought me out to do my first motivational speaking gig. And it was like, you have made such a huge ripple because not only like that gave me the confidence to do what I did, right? So I've now inspired and did a positive ripple with the women that were at that event. But now you got to think like 20, 30 years of public speaking that I'm going to do. That's all because of you.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
I love the fact that you had mentioned this earlier, Trinity, like that what you're doing and helping human trafficking with something that we're already doing anyways, like drinking coffee. And I think there needs to be more of that, of like,
That's just brilliant business.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good business.
I had a meeting with someone the other day who was looking into, like, we were talking about marketing and stuff, and they were doing a food company for, I can't remember what exactly it was, but they were also, every little bit of the food was going to an organization. And I think, imagine walking through like Shaw's or Walmart and all your food, that when you go to get something, it goes to something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's why I have to model.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And being able to branch from that is just like awesome.
What I like about your story is that you're not a victim of your experience. You could have been a shitbag and had a really good reason to be a shitbag, right? And you
I was for a while.
But you're not. But you're not. You're definitely not. And it's interesting because they say God sometimes gives struggle to his strongest warriors because, it infuses us when we're older. And I've been through some experiences as a child that kind of falls under what you're supporting. So without crying and going too deep, I have to say that, I could have been a shitbag and I was for a while. You know what I mean? So that's what I love most about your story is how you yourself turned out to be such an incredible person.
Well, I give all the glory to God. I And I came kicking and screaming like, I worked at a restaurant, and this dude, Vince, who was a former heroin addict, showed me a picture of himself. That's what changed. Like, I used to mock him, curse God. I was like, blank you and you're blanking God. I was angry about all my, hurt and things I had gone through. And I was like, well, if he's out there, we'll blank him then. Where was he when, fill in all my blanks. But, so when I saw a picture and there was nobody home in his eyes. And I know a lot of people, a lot of messed up, homeless, drug, but I mean, very rarely do you see someone this far gone. And then I'm working with this guy and I'm like, this is not the same guy. Something real happened to him. I don't know what, but I didn't. So that kind of got my journey going of seeking and trying to, is there such a thing as truth? And if there is, can I know it? And then I was interviewing everybody, asking everybody, their mother, what do you believe? But I was more about, why do you believe what you believe, not just what you believe. And that's where I really got into the, wow. So as I began to do more research about the foundation of Christianity, evidence that supports why it's rational to believe, the more I studied and learned, I was like, oh my gosh. But then I was pissed. I was just like, so I can't chase girls anymore. I can't do drugs. I can't party. I can't this. I can't. My whole life was just, everything anti the Bible. You know what I mean? So it's like, I was like, I got to lose my whole life here.
Yeah.
But what was my life anyway? It was, it's like you party for the moment and then you're depressed, you're homeless, you're drug addicted. Like, look at you. You know what I mean? But I couldn't, I was just mad. I was just like, I came kicking and
programmed to be like that. That's what's frustrating for me, is my kids call it out all the time. Well, God and source and Jesus, all these questions of them, why do they put poisonous food in the grocery store? And I don't know how to answer that all the time. Like, it's just like, it's because we're in the reality of choice. That's the only way I can rationalize it to my children, but they're the ones that highlight that concept for me. It's very, anger came first in my faith journey. Absolutely.
Yeah. Where you at?
Actually, I remember when I was 12 and I realized what racism was. And that was the first time I didn't want to be on Earth. I was like, oh, I don't get it. You just kill people? Like, what? And then war. And then but then I found John Lennon and Bob Marley, and they kind of helped me balance some things out. I remember that was the first time. And then when, faith and cleaning up my own act came.
Yeah.
There was another set of anger, like, wow, we're really in this matrix together, this place of choice. And so I'm with you. But look at us, we're very extreme people in what we do. And it's because we came from that kind of story, right?
Yeah, my limiting belief on faith until literally probably 2 years ago. So when I was 29, it took 29 years for me to come out of this belief that people who had this strong spiritual belief were bad people, because that's what was demonstrated for me for many years of my life. So I was anti-God. I was anti-belief in anything. So what started that journey for me was universe. A lot of meditation and everything connects me to the universe. And so then I could believe that there was a higher power, and then it transitioned to God. And I'll tell you, the moment that happened was when I was in a deep depression, and therapy couldn't see me. Medication was going to take months. And I swear, I heard a voice say, find a way out of this and teach others to do it. And I was like, okay, well, the universe doesn't talk. So I was very confused, but I took that as an opportunity to learn. And I think that so many of us miss those opportunities to learn.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Real arts for me saved me that last step of drug addiction. So it gave me that self-purpose, and it was a similar calling, like learn this and teach. I became teaching shortly after, and I've been relatively transparent with my story. And I've had people come up to me and say, hey, just, I went through XYZ too, or this has helped me through this. And so I had that same kind of voice. And so that definitely kind of instills that foundation of faith for sure, is knowing that calling, understanding what that voice was, and that everybody kind of has that space and that oneness, right? When you realize you're not alone. And then that's kind of what really holds your hand to faith, is when you're like, oh, I'm not alone. This is universal. This is collective. This is, I'm one with everybody else. That was part of my journey as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, just to both of your points about, educating and learning, I always encourage people to, like I was just talking to somebody not long ago, and I was like, I'm not trying to convert you because I'm not into that. All I encourage people to do is make an educated decision. I think a lot of people, like I did, like my mother she grew up in church, and she was like, if this is God, I don't want nothing of it. And she went off the rails and went into craziness. And now she's back, but not with what she grew up with, obviously. But, I'm like, I think if you make an educated decision, there's enough out there. I'm like confident in the education of the facts and the evidence, not, and just talk, like I said, you could talk about what you believe. And I believe something different, but why do you believe what you believe? That's what I'm always encouraging people towards. And yeah.
Most definitely. I like that thought of why, because if you really look at it, like all these different faiths and belief in some sort of higher power, there really is like a lot of underlying connection between everything. And if there's something that draws you to a certain thing, educated decision to the way, the reason, things like that, it is just a much more solidified place of being. And like I said, they're all very much similar in their underlying faith, love, things like that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like the book The Secret was one of my first like books that I picked up and listened to, and movies I watched about the higher connection, right? Like God is never spoken about in the book, but so many Bible verses are in that teaching. And so I agree. Like, I really think that God uses so many ways to get to the people who would not believe if there wasn't like an initial step, like believing the universe, like The Secret never mentions God, but that literally was like one of my first introductions to a higher power.
Yes, I call them stepping stones.
Stepping stone, yeah. And like, it's totally okay to just stay at a stepping stone. Like, I think that he is okay if you stay at a stepping stone. And eventually, I do believe that within messages in life and just the way things work, you will come to that realization that he's there and he's with you. Because, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine life now not knowing that I'm not alone, like you said, Danielle. Like, there are so many days that I'm like, oh my goodness, how can I do this? And then instantly, like, I'm not doing this. He's doing this. And if it's meant to be, it'll be. And then that like releases so much stress off of me. Graham, I know that you have a lot of practices, like your morning routines and stuff with meditation, yoga. Talk a little bit about that, because I know that you're really strong in that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that to me, what you just said of like, I mean, it's like the letting go. And we are all love, and then acceptance in that what is, because all I do on a daily basis is just everything that is in front of me that I can do to the best of my ability to me, but where my serenity level and everything that comes after that is my ability to accept life on life's terms of like what is at that moment. You know what I mean? If like I do something that's in front of me, whether that's, hanging with my family or business or whatever, and then whatever happens, if I'm like pissed that the way the situation is or like trying to control it or something, then I'm not accepting that situation as it is. And that's when my serenity level goes down. And then I'm like not connected to God. I'm not like living in the moment. But if I am just being and doing, and whatever happens, and I let go to that surrender, then, that's when my acceptance is solid and my serenity level's up, things flow much better. And that's kind of how I'm at with a lot of that. And then like all of that is being guided by, God, because God speaks through people, and like, that's where it comes from, so.
I think recognizing that I'm a spirit and an avatar was pretty pivotal for me. That this is an earthly experience, but I am so much more, along with everybody else. And that was pivotal for me in like, you know, having that foundation of my like facts of like what makes logical sense to me. It was that kind of information. Because I had things that would happen to my body, right, that were outside of my control. So I gained power in realizing I was a spirit in an avatar, an earthly experience, and it was just an experience. And I'm not what my experiences are, right? I'm the viewer of the experiences. I'm the soul, right? So I'm not even the experience itself. I'm not what's happened to me ever, the good or the bad, right? So I'm perceiving the experience, and that is my factual foundation.
Yeah,
That's good.
I'm reading a book, and there was a statistic in the book that I read yesterday. We only recognize 10% of what is going on around us.
I know, isn't that insane?
Yeah, and then our beliefs is what determines what we recognize. So if you can filter and alter and work on, you know, personal development, all personal development, altering those beliefs, like you said, like realizing that we are spirit, we are just this entity. We are not our body, we're not our experiences, we're not our past, we're not that, we are just us. Then we can actually perceive what we're meant to perceive. That 10% can be so much more quality, so much more quality.
It's cool knowing that we can also map out, right? So it's a co-creation kind of agreement, right? So our mind is like a programming system. And so knowing that I do have that power to reroute my mind and to, you know, transition it and evolve within that. And then knowing that there's so much more. I'm an artist, right? So in my mind, I go to a different realm. I think of something, I make it, create it, and I come back here and I do it, right? So that's kind of like what creativity is, you know, or daydreaming or whatever people see it as. So the 10%. So there's so much we don't know about. So if that wasn't, so then I know I'm really going to find something that we can't see, that, you know, that idea, that invention, because it's proven. We only conceive 10%. So there's so much to imagine and create still left to do. There's so much work to still do as a species. So, yeah, that's such an empowering percentage and kind of statement.
And I think that the people who don't see it as that are the people, the 86% of America that's unhappy.
Comes down a lot to faith too, like what you were talking about, Danielle, about like where that like realm is, and like being able to recognize that it's like, okay, you have faith that like this is, you know, I have that ability to do that through that connection, and that's where you can be guided through a lot of that is just in faith. But yeah, man, I'm loving this conversation for sure.
Trinity had gone on her event, and the only question I had was, who was your favorite girl you met? So I thought we could maybe talk about her real quick.
Oh man, honestly, there are so many. I
would like one that stuck out to you, and you told me her story from the convention. Not to put you on the spot, but and then you too, Anthony. Like, who's your favorite kind of like a survivor or a moment or experience within that? Right, it's pretty severe. What was like a glimmer of like sparkle, like a great, wonderful moment?
You know what? I'll tell you the biggest thing that I took away from those women, because I'm telling you that event, I think they taught me more than I taught them. I think that they would all disagree, but like, I really felt like that was a pivotal point in my belief, my connection. I mean, I remember hiking, we're in Colorado. I remember hiking this mountain called Bible Point and getting to the top, and I cried. Like, I could not stop crying. It was like this just sense of like, holy moly, I am exactly where I need to be right now. I'll tell you what is so impactful with the women, the survivors of human trafficking, is their resilience is like nothing I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, literally, I hope and I pray that I could have 10% of their resilience, because these women, after everything they've been through, and I say literally torture, mentally, physically, everything for 10, 20, 30 years, they're they're wanting personal development. Like they're getting themselves to growing. And I'm like, I know people who haven't had any trauma and have actually had a pretty blessed life who aren't willing to commit themselves to personal development. Yet these women are here saying, I've been through absolute hell for years and I want more for myself. It was really eye-opening. It was really eye-opening our strength. And I'll tell you, every single, on the spiritual belief conversation, every single one of those women pray God. They pray all day, and it was incredible. The energy coming off of them was incredible. You would look at them and have no idea the hell that they've been through. But talking to them, it's so empowering what they've been through. So that's my takeaway from that. What about you, Anthony? What's been some takeaways and some insights with between the survivors you've worked with and the organizations that you support with your mission?
Geez, well, I haven't connected with any survivors. It's like you get a 911 call, but you're like an hour away, and you have to you have to take a mile after mile just to get on the scene. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like Fight Coffee to me is like we're in an embryonic stage, and there's all these people out there, and they're hurting, and they need housing, they need help. I mean, you went somewhere where all that had to be funded. Right? I mean, it's just not materializing because people just want and hope that, I hope something happens for these people. No, a lot of people had to give and sacrifice or do something, So from that vantage point, as far as me and survivors, and my goal, I mean, obviously I'm a man. That's not my role. My thing is raising awareness and facilitating the means by which we can actually do something to make a difference and to give everyone that opportunity, because together, many hands make light work. So I think the power of Fight Coffee is, it's like coffee is $100 billion industry. I mean, imagine if Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts decided tomorrow to give 100% of their profits in every state to fight human trafficking. Every state would be radically transformed in this area because of that. And then the other thing that I'm envisioning, and that's what we want to do with Fight Coffee. Obviously, we got to grow to get to that point. But the other thing is that if it's owned and run primarily by survivors, and this is, I think, is key. When people, I'm a survivor of drugs, alcohol, and so forth. And I've known many people, and they go to the program. They go to the 6-month program, the year program, and you guys all know how many people, they don't make it long after the program ends. Many people go back, and my understanding is approximately 80% of survivors, I've heard at least one stat that says 80% go back to the life. Mm-hmm. And that makes total sense to me, because you can't pull somebody out of hell and then put them in a program loved and concerned and cared for, and then say, you graduated, good luck, little birdie, fly out there in isolation. No, that's not going to work. So, I mean, it does for a small percentage of people. But so what I'm envisioning is, you come out of a program, then you're offered a way to make a living, which, a lot of people, they don't have that. But if you start, like, let's say with Fight Coffee, and we train you up while you're in the program, then you can, move on. So that's just the financial aspect, which is huge. But then if you're in a community where everybody, pretty much most people that you work with are all survivors, you're putting people into community with everyone who's come out of the program, but now they are supporting one another. So it's not just about the money. We can't just raise money and throw money at things and people and think that, that's the answer. I mean, partially it is, but we can see, again, where all the money is thrown, we're still at 80% going back. So that's, to me, the power of Fight Coffee. It's about, yes, taking everyone's money who can just sip coffee and give money, but then it's then creating that opportunity for survivors to be there for each other, to be a community for each other, so that, moving forward down the road, they can all, I love that saying or quote, we're better together, mm-hmm. And to your point, you're not alone. But a lot of people, they graduate and they are alone. And then so my encounters with people So anyway, that's, I think, the power in our vision of Fight Coffee. My experience with a lot of people in the anti-trafficking community are mostly the people who are leading it. Many of them are survivors, and it's clear to me and apparent that, many of them are so passionate that it's like, I think you start off with, I got to deal with myself, and that. But then once you get out there, the need is so great, and this happens to most people in any type of nonprofit, recovery, church, pastor, whatever. You get so sucked up and consumed by the need. It's so massive that you begin to lose yourself again. You begin to, you don't have, like, so there was a woman in Maine. She's a survivor. She was trafficked at 14. Some guy overheard her talking about something with her daughter, said, come to my house, I'll help you. He gave her a beep, they raped her and then gave her a beeper. Beeper. We'll beep you. What's it called? Not, I think it's a beeper. But anyway, we'll phone you, and when it beeps, you come to work. And they threatened her little child. She was 14-year-old with a kid. Anyway, she's a survivor. And, she was working 60 plus hours a week in a home, and she was out straight. Why? Because the money wasn't there. The support wasn't there. People are like, hey, we know about it. She's connected to churches and everything. Where's all the Christian people who are, that's what we should be about, not trying to attend a service and be like, who wasn't at a great service, when there's, I got tired of it. Like, I don't even go to church anymore. We're meeting with a woman right now, and we're starting with one person, and who can I love? But, it's like, who can we, I can't do it anymore. I can't sit and sing and hear. Meanwhile, you walk out the door, and in your community, there's all this stuff going on, and we can't lift a finger in any places, or that's all you can muster up. One little finger that you're going to muster to go out and help some, and then go, oh, look what we're doing. You know what I mean? I don't want to judge anybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm not here to judge, but I can't roll with it anymore. I was a pastor for many years. I can't do it. So, my experience is that many of these survivors are either alone, they're going back, or they're just burning themselves out. One woman I know, she told me, someone just told her, she was like in her early 30s. If you continue to go this route, you're going to die. You're going to kill yourself. That's how, you follow her on Instagram. She's just nonstop, and I get sucked in. I got sucked in, and I got to pull back. It's just like this, it's a riptide. That's why it's like a riptide of need, and would be to God that we who are people who say we have faith, we got to come together. And what I'm seeing also in the anti-trafficking community, somebody told me this, a survivor who is a leader, she said that a lot of them, they don't want to work together. So in the anti-trafficking community, there's not a lot of working together.
It's constant triggers. So it's like, I wanted to donate my time to Safe Voices, and the lady told me no. She goes, yeah, we're going to trigger you. You're still in a triggering place. And that
makes sense.
So like I act out my service in different ways. So what I did is I did all of Portland art walks for free. I did Lewiston's, all of their hundreds of children sat on an apparatus and spun that I otherwise would have never had done, right? So now they have this sparkle of a coping skill that might be there when bad shit happens. Now I know that because that's how art and physicality came into my life. So I've decided to serve that way, because if I put myself in speaking circumstances, I'll cry. I could do 5 minutes earlier. I talked to you guys about it and I could barely get through it, right? So I know I can't do that. So
that's why I'm on this side. I'm doing what I can do. I think everybody can do something. And that's why I love Fight Coffee. It's like, you don't got to go out on the streets trying to track women down or rescue them or beat up the pimps. You don't got to do that. Just drink some coffee and let us give the money to the people who are doing it. Let us increase their scope, their ability. Let us, because money. At the end of the day, you need money.
Yeah, I think it's super powerful. It literally goes back to, we all have a ripple. And I think I challenge everyone listening and us here to think about, in our day-to-day interactions, our actions, or meetings, ask yourself, it's this simple question, and it's a mindset shift. How can I be even more impactful right now? You're sipping coffee and you're listening to this podcast. The question is, how can you be even more impactful? It's making sure that the coffee is Fight Coffee, or, it's when you have a donation or you're at Walmart, can you spare an extra $5? Go and donate $5 to your order. There's so many ways that we can make, if every single human on earth did one slightly impactful shift every day, in 10 years, this would be an entire different world.
Oops. Why don't we end it, because we're about at time, and we'll switch it up by doing one of these questions here. Okay. If you could savor one dinner totally free at any restaurant in the world, which restaurant or plate of food would you have? I had blue crab in Florida. That's what I pick over and over and over again. And all of the sides that came. That's mine.
I wish I liked seafood. I really do.
Blue crab was it was like nothing I'd ever had before. The texture, and it's Floridian blue crab.
I'll have to try.
Because I want a red lobster with its claws, right? So Floridian blue crab, it was just it was so huge, and it was the texture. It was just like, I don't even know. It was outside of my price range. So I had the meal once in my life. And it was just wonderful. There's that moment where you're like, oh, I should eat slow. Like,
I think that just based on some meetings at lunch we've been together, I think you're going to relate to this one. I think mine would be prime rib, because I freaking love it. But listen, I'm not spending $50 on a freaking meal at a restaurant. Like, I just ain't doing it. So mine would be prime rib, and literally from everywhere. I don't care.
I was going to say Max Grill, or I can't think of the name of a restaurant, but I was in New York recently, and there was a restaurant that had a nice ribeye with nice mashed potatoes and some vegetables, nice cut meat. Oh my God, I'm watering in my mouth right now. And I'm excited too, because in an hour and a half, I get to actually go have some.
I'm
Rub it in.
Have a bite from me. Anthony, what about you?
I'd have to skip the restaurant and go to a friend's grandma making some nice Puerto Rican food, Dominican, just a whole meal, homemade. When grandma knows what she's doing, man, just give me some arroz con gandules, some plátanos, chicharrón, and
nice.
It'll be good.
I lived in Jersey City for a while, and Florida, and I don't even know how to say those words, but you just ordered food that my soul is craving, and I don't think I've had in a really long time.
Yeah, we got to find some Puerto Ricans out here.
I know. There was one place open in Lewiston, but they closed. They were only open. I didn't even get a chance to eat there. In fact, she came to a business meeting before I even got to try the food.
So good.
Yeah, I tried. So I use a lot of Goya products. And so
I'm going to have to send you a link. This girl, so she's in BNI, and she's not in our group anymore. I can't think of her name, but anyway, she Diaspora. I'll send it to Trinity, and she can get it to you. But it's a cookbook by this famous Puerto Rican. She's an angry woman, but
nice.
I can read in her. I'm like, wow, she's really angry. She's just losing it, F-bombing in her book. I'm like, let's just give me the recipe, but, you know what I mean? But, I feel for her, because obviously I've been through stuff she's obviously been through. She hadn't got her healing, or, I don't think, I don't know what she's got, but a lot of anger. Anyway, but besides that, a lot of good recipes, and she's award winning. So you might be able to just cook yourself up some nice meals.
Absolutely wonderful conversation, everybody.
It has been. Oh my gosh, Anthony, thank you for coming on and being our guest today. We hope our listeners enjoyed. Anthony McKeown with Fight Coffee. Anthony, tell us, where can our listeners find more about Fight Coffee?
Well, it's easy. Just we're an online store, so anybody anywhere can get our coffee on fightcoffee.org. Just go there if you want to. We're also committed to raising awareness, and so at the footer any of the footers, there's links to our social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and we're just encouraging people to follow so they can be aware, spread the word, not only as we're seeking to fight human trafficking and rescue people, but also to have parents help their kids not fall into this trap.
Yeah.
There's a lot that needs to be done there. So I'm trying to grow that aspect of what we're doing. So it's all on our website, fightcoffee.org.
Awesome. Anthony, thank you so much. Listeners, thank you so much for listening to the Unfiltered Path podcast. Make sure to go like, follow, subscribe, share with your friends and family. We hope that we provided you with some inspiration, resilience, and some hope that it doesn't matter what your path is, windy, rocky, twisty, turny. It does lead to personal growth and an amazing life. So I'm Trinity Baker, one of your co-hosts here. You can find me on TrinityBaker.com, and I'm here joined with...
Hi, my name is Danielle. You can find me on Aerialist.com and live chat with me. You can also find me on most social medias. And I am here with my co-host,
Graham Duval, owner of Valüd Productions. I'm on all social medias at VALUD Productions or ValüdProductions.com. And I am super excited to have been joined by our wonderful guest,
Anthony McKeown, founder and owner of Fight Coffee. Delicious coffee, responsibly sourced, giving 100% of the profit to fight human trafficking.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and stay tuned for next week.